This is Ely Cathedral near Cambridge, a place of such surpassing and transcendent beauty, an almost perfect marriage between art and religion, that it seems inconceivably barbaric that anyone should want to mutilate or desecrate it. And yet, the ultimate backhand compliment to the power of art is to want to break its spell by breaking its fabric, and that is exactly what happened here.
And here. These two huge, serene statues, the Bamiyan Buddhas, had stood in the remote Afghan mountains for more than 1,700 years before the Taliban, enraged by the iconography of a different religious tradition, blew them up in 2001. These potent images were beamed to the world, horrifying the international community.
The instinct to cherish and protect art is nearly universal, but the impulse to deface and destroy it for political or religious reasons can break out in the most unlikely places. Here in London's National Gallery in March 1914, a suffragette called Mary Richardson violently attacked Velázquez's Rokeby Venus to draw attention to the campaign for women's votes. We can't film in front of the Rokeby Venus because it's still considered a target. And it's this phenomenon which is the subject of a new show to be held at Tate Britain this October called Art Under Attack.
Suffragette campaigner Mary Richardson explained her axe-slashing of the canvas by saying, "I have tried to destroy the picture of the most beautiful woman in mythological history as a protest against the government for destroying Mrs. Pankhurst, who is the most beautiful character in modern history. Justice is an element of beauty as much as colour and outline on canvas." Emmeline Pankhurst's followers got up to all kinds of stunts. Mary Richardson alone was arrested 8 times for breaking windows, arson and other violent acts. But the only one anyone remembers is the desecration of a painting.
Christianity has always felt rather conflicted about the power of beauty to inspire devotion. At the time that the Lady Chapel here in Ely Cathedral was built in the 1340s, the church was entirely confident that beautiful sculptures of the kind that were then found here and the stained glass windows did indeed make for a kind of sublime reverence. But when Protestantism showed up almost a century later, it had a very different view. And that view was that beauty was a distraction from pure worship, which would be driven by the word. And so there took place a terrible obliteration of the sculptures here, an effacement driven by savage zeal.
Back in the present, there are contemporary artists who play with the idea of taboo smashing, and that no destruction is in fact part of their own artistic creative practice. I'm here with Michael Landy, who does this with a mighty bang in this wonderful exhibition at the National Gallery, where he's artist in residence.
So, Michael, tell me how this idea of the auto-destruction of works of art is so important for you.
Well, for Saints Alive, what I liked about was the idea of someone like St. Catherine, who's a virgin martyr, and she has her beliefs, and she's prepared to take them to the bitter end. So you have this Roman guy trying to change her mind, trying to get her to worship his pagan gods, and she refuses to, which ultimately leads to her death. And that's why I kind of like, as far as context of Saints Alive, is the saints are auto-destructive. So you'll see Peter Martyr, like with a sword in his head. You'll see St. Jerome beating his chest with a rock.
Yeah, especially nasty one out there with St. Apollonia extracting her own teeth.
Yeah, they pull her teeth out. Yeah, she's another virgin martyr, so they pull her teeth out.
Paintings are very quiet, are very serene. Yeah. They've taken the violence out of that Christian moment and you're putting it back in again.
I literally wanted them to come back alive for a whole new audience. And I liked the idea that I junked them in my head literally junk, and then I come along and I cobble bits from a like Cosmo tour or a Chima, and I put them back together again and reanimate them for a whole new audience to tell their stories again, because I'd completely forgotten about them. And so it's a kind of different way of looking at the saints, really.
Tell me about Art Bin, which did something very unusual.
It's basically a monument to failure. That's how I like to think. So it's a huge bin that took up the whole of the South London Art Gallery, and I invited artists, both well-known and completely unknown, students, everybody to throw their failures into the bin. It didn't matter if you were Damien Hirst or a completely unknown art student, everything was the same in the bin.
Did you film people coming? Or was it
yeah, we filmed people throwing stuff in there.
Yeah.
There was, at the private view there was.
That's brilliant. That is so great. We tend to think of the urge to create and the urge to destroy as coming from completely different places in the human psyche, but perhaps not. Perhaps in different ways, they both pay tribute to the power of art to enchant. It was Picasso, after all, who described his own masterpieces as the sum of all his destructions.